So we'll be speaking on career and entrepreneurship very quickly. Let's make welcome an actual angel, J Booms, Bumi George. Then let's make welcome Mr. Samuel Jegede. Now, who better to join this panel than the beautiful Mrs. Ivie Temitayo Ejitoye? They're dancing upstage. Please let us make welcome the distinguished TDA, Mr. Aliu Oluwadamilare. Please let's make welcome Sheol Ali. Let's make welcome for the second time upstage, the one, the only assistant celebrant for the day, Pastor, Dr. Engineer, Mr. Malay.
Good morning, good morning. I hope we're having a great time. Are we learning? Yes, we are, definitely, because I'm learning as well. This panel is, look at the lineup. Fire emojis. So this panel is power packed. You've heard their bios, you've looked at their profile. Renny, thank you very much. This is amazing that you have packed so much value in one room. God bless you. So this panel is a lot, and I want to get as much value out of it for everyone. And so please stay with me. Stick to my time restrictions, please, so that we can get as much out of this juice out of you for them. So the first question I'm going to ask everyone is, what action or inaction would you say you took in your 20s, either positively or negatively, that has landed you where you are today? Ivy, please go ahead.
Okay. So I would say that it is testing the waters. When you're in your 20s, you still have a lot of time to be able to test the waters with a lot of things. Now, when I started out my career, to be honest, I didn't know that I was going to be doing HR. All I knew was what I was good at and what I was not good at. And what I did was to note my areas of strength, note the areas that I was interested in, and then test the waters. So I worked as a PA, I worked in an NGO, I worked in a church office, I did proper career jobs because I wanted to be able to really know what it was I wanted to do and what I absolutely did not want to do. So I would say for me, it was testing the waters at that early stage in my career, because it was in so doing that I got to find that HR was what I really wanted to do, and I stuck to it.
Perfect, thank you, and thank you for keeping to time. 1 minute and under. Mr. Jex, please take it away.
All right. For me, I would like to say, bless you, plowing back everything. In business, I found out that if I fed my business will feed me. So, I don't know where I got the sense from, but I ensured that my business was well fed. So I feed my business, then whatever is left, at a point I squandered it, So, but just ensured that the goose that is laying is it the goose or geese that is laying the golden egg? Yeah? Goose, right? So is well taken care of. So that's one of the things. Then I took risks. That's the time you can take risks. Imagine taking risks when you have people saying, Daddy, Mommy, it's not as easy as when you're alone. So pardon my nose, it's toughy. So, but yeah, I took risks, sacrificed, got my fingers burnt well. Then, more often than not, I didn't let failure or crisis go unjuiced, right? So it's double whammy if you failed and you didn't learn from it. Sometimes I had to fail a couple of times before I really got in, right? So yes. So those are some of the things I did in my 20s. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was so good.
All right, I guess I'm next. So I used to be a geek. So I spent most of my 20s in school. So what I continually did when I was in my 20s was self-development, like Pastor Renny said. So I was in school studying first masters, BSc, first master, second masters, because I knew that the moment I stepped out into the world, I was going to be having a lot of competition. And when I started to work, what I wanted to, because I knew eventually I would want to go into business. So early enough, I defined what success meant to me. For a lot of people, success is how much money you have in your account. For me, success is freedom. I knew I always wanted to be free in life. And to be free, it meant to me that I was going to be a businessman. And being a businessman meant I needed to learn how to run a business and how not to run a business. And that's what I used my 20 to do. After school, I got into companies, and all I was doing in those companies was basically studying how the companies did their things and what the impact of what they were doing was having on the bottom line and all that. And I believe some of those things brought us here, which I guess we'll talk about as we proceed.
So for me, I finished university at 22. I studied international relations. I wanted to become a diplomat. But you know, Nigeria has a way of helping you fine-tune your career and life. And I ended up in the banking sector. And I just decided to take it seriously. Diplomat was not diplomating, so banking has to bank. So I took it seriously and I did everything that I was supposed to do, like my life depended on it. I didn't have a backup plan, and I ended up spending about 11 years in the banking sector. And today I would say that everything I learned around operations has been very useful in what we are building at FEZ, because I also believe that no experience should go to waste. Yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
Yes, for me in my 20s, not to repeat what has been said, one of the things I did a lot then was to seek for advice, right? Especially in the career world, you'd have supervisors, senior colleagues, peers. I'd always ask for feedback because we all have blind spots. You may have strengths, you may have capabilities, but you have weaknesses and blind spots which, if not pointed out to you, you may not know that they are actually impeding your progress. All right, so my blind spots, I'll typically ask people, even if they can't say to me, face to face, I would ask them to anonymously send it to me. Send it through an email that is not your email address. Write it somewhere, all right? And I think that, that really helped. Although sometimes you look at the handwriting and say, this person that wrote this one, this is J Boom's, right? But at the end of the day, the point is get feedback so that you can move forward. Sometimes your blind spots could be limiting you from moving forward. So that, I think that I did a lot of that in my 20s.
Perfect, thank you. I think the answers were so brilliant. And let's just go over them again. I hope you are taking notes. Number 1, test the waters. Know your strengths. So you see, Ivie, she worked, she volunteered. She didn't just say, you know what, I'm just going to sit, I'm going to do nothing. Mr. Jack said he bootstrapped. As an entrepreneur, you don't want to be eating your capital, right? Bootstrap. He also said he never let any failure go unused. So his failures were his blessings. Self-development. Mr. Aliyu said he was bettering himself. He did his first degree. He did his master's. Define what success is for you. And we're rounding off with Mr. Mo. He says, seek advice and feedback. Not only from your bosses, but from your peers. Now, my next question, I'll direct it at 2 of my panelists, Mr. Aliyu and Mr. Jegs. I love these 2 men because they have so much potential. I look at the businesses, they don't run just one business. They run multiple businesses. Each of them have more than 5 under their belts. So as a person of multi-potential, how did you know which potential to go after first? That's my first question. And how did you know when it was time to move and add on other businesses? Because you find as young people in your 20s, your 20s sometimes can come with a lot of confusion. You just don't know, I'm talented, I have so many interests. I'm wide, I'm vast. I just don't know which one to choose and go for it. How did you choose? How did you know?
So I'll let him go first.
Okay.
Beautiful setup. How do you even... I think the first question would be, what made you start the first business? Why? The why. Which is, I believe people should do businesses in things that interest them. I went into fashion because I like to dress up, right? So it's easy for me to dress someone else up knowing how to dress, yeah? Now, why should anyone be in real estate? Why should you be be in real estate and your second business is cooking? They don't go together. What I think people should concentrate on when they want to diversify is spin-offs. So for instance, you're in real estate, your next business shouldn't be selling rice. You should be maybe looking at selling building materials. You should be maybe looking at selling cement. You should be maybe being a cement distributor. You should be maybe, being opening another business, being a real estate agent. And with that, eventually, you will know which one butters the bread. I have an engineering company because I love engineering. That's all I spent 7-8 years of my life doing. But will the engineering business I do right now support my lifestyle? Maybe not. The fashion business will support my lifestyle. So what I do is I put a lot of effort in the fashion business, and then the fashion business has spun off into the laundry business. The laundry business has spun off into other things, and then I realized that in fact the laundry is even growing faster than the fashion. So what happens? I put more resources in the laundry business. So what I'm saying is, spin off. Don't just be all over the place. Don't follow trends, and know what works for you.
Brilliant answer, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I've tried several businesses. Many have failed. Few are succeeding. But the good thing about trying it is...
The few are many, though.
Well, not so much. But the good thing about that is when you try and you fail several times, when you get it right, it covers for the losses, right? I think that's a beautiful thing. To the question, which is how to know what to do if you're multi-talented, right? I think you should look for the one where you have, Warren Buffett calls it a moat, right? You have a castle, and those castles like in those cartoons, and you have water around it, but it won't be easy for people to attack you, right? Look for your blue ocean strategy. You've read, you probably know that. Look for where you have a unique offer, and it's difficult to compete. And even if there are a lot of people, you come out as the best, more or less. So I think you should look for that. And when you're talking about businesses, I think passion sometimes, may not put food on the table. What you're passionate about. He said something. He said the engineering business may not support the lifestyle, right? But there's the fashion, which supports the lifestyle and is doing that. So my answer to the question in clearer terms is, look for what you have the resources, though intangible, the resources to do, the skill, the natural knack, that's the talent. Look for what you are more inclined to do and do it. And if it is something that feeds, that can keep you going, is self-sustaining, you've hit something. And if it's something that's you have a unique offer, in which you have a unique offer, I think you found a gold mine, because you can just scale and find out if it has some evergreen potential. Can it keep going? Can I upsell? Is it just a product, or do I have a company? So there are many other things to look. What's the market size if it's a business? How big is it? How many people need this problem? Entrepreneurship is about solving problems, right? What problem am I solving? Can any big organization, come and knock me off? So quite a number of things to look at, but look at the part where you have the biggest strength. I'll close with this. One of the challenges that we had back then was, if you are not doing well in a particular subject, they get you a lesson teacher for that subject. If you're doing well in a subject, they don't. And it's meant to be the other way around, or at least you're meant to balance it. If you know a person is doing really well, or a child, you're meant to even double down. Let this person go for more advanced, challenges, which was the challenge, So find out where you have your strength, harness it, get stronger, and build on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. My third question will go to Mrs. Ivier. As a HR executive, what advice will you give a young person trying to build a career rather than just simply working to keep a job?
I would say, first of all, the difference between a career and a job is just something I'm doing just to pay the bills. A career is about impact. So, for example, with the work that I do in HR, it means that I get the opportunity every single day to make the people that I work with, their lives better, because I contribute immensely to how they end up career-wise. So for me, it's not just go to work at 8 o'clock, come back at 5, and then I get paid at the end of the month. It's so much more than that. Now, what I would say is, first of all, be very clear on what it is that you want to do and why you want to do what you want to do. If your clarity is that you're not clear on what you want to do, you are clear. Because when you're not clear, you at least know, I'm quite uncertain on what I want to do, so maybe I should go and seek some help to really know what I want to do. So I would say get clear first. Number 2, take money out of the question. A lot of times when people are starting out their careers, they start thinking about what they want to earn. But I can tell you for free that down the line, you do not want to be someone who earns well, but you cannot be invited to specific meetings because you cannot contribute to the meeting. So when you're starting out, focus on value and experience. What is it that I'm going to learn on this job? What is it that I'm going to learn working with these people? What is it that I'm going to learn that will help me to be set apart in the next 5 to 10 years? As opposed to, I just want to earn to make money. Because like I said, down the line, money is not going to count. So I'll give an example. Because I run a recruitment agency and I also do recruitment as part of HR, I get to meet people that are seemingly earning a lot of money, but when critical positions open up, they do not qualify. Because at that point, nobody cares about what you are earning. What we care about is the value. And because you can bring value, a company is willing to pay anything to have you. I'll give an example. Sorry, I will be 30 seconds. I'll give an example of a young lady that was interviewed for a job. Now, when she came in for the interview, her background was with working in a crèche. She worked in a crèche as a volunteer when I think there was ASU strike or something. But she didn't do her crèche work like a normal person would do it. In fact, she was so set apart that when parents dropped their children, everybody wanted to drop their child with Morenike, because the way Morenike handles babies in the crèche is a bit different. Now, one of the leading oil and gas companies was looking for someone to work in the admin department as a manager. And a mother remembered that role profile and said, I know the person that fits that role profile. It's that girl. What was she earning? 25K as a volunteer. Her first salary with this oil and gas company was 650K. Wow. Simply because they have a benchmark, entry level, this is what we pay. Now imagine if all she focused on at that time was, I just want a job that will pay me. I would rather be at home. I won't do anything. I'm not working anywhere till they pay me my worth. We don't know your worth until you actually go and get a job and prove your worth.
That deserves a big round of applause. Thank you so very much. My next question I will direct at Sheun and Mr. Mulayin. My business idea is very viable, but somehow we haven't started making profit. Should I quit? Please, can we get another mic on the stage, please, if you don't mind? Thank you very much.
So I'll try to keep it short, but there are different layers to that question.
Okay. I can give you 2.5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing is, your business idea is viable, but you've not started making profits. Give yourself time. Give yourself grace. And that's why it's very important to plan, right? And I would say that if you're that person, you should have like a 12-month plan, a 3 years plan, and maybe a 5 years plan. right? And I understand that we are all very, this time we want to get everything done as quickly as possible, but there's also the place of patience, right? And you can look at the story of Paystack and their investors. I'm not going to go into the details, right? But I think the first thing to look at is what even makes a business viable. And I think Jex already spoke to some of the things I'm going to mention again to say that, do you really understand the business? Do you think that if you give this business another 3 years, then you start making profit? What are you selling? Because the business may be viable, but may not be viable for you. So, and I'll use my industry as an example. I work in the logistics space. We have over 1,000 last mile delivery companies in Lagos alone. And a lot of us are free to come into that market for different reasons. It's logistics. It's the real deal now, then I'm going in there. Not because you're coming into that space to solve a problem, but because you're coming there because you think there must be money here. Then you come there and you experience something completely different from what you had planned. Understand that business first. Understand what problem you're solving. Establish that there is a market for you. Then understand that it will take time. Greatness and excellence takes time. So build for 12 months. Have a plan for 12 months. Have another plan for 3 years. But my advice, and I would also let someone agree or disagree with me. If after 5 years, that business that seems very viable isn't still profitable, then that business is not yours. Maybe you should try something else.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I should use Okantik as an example. My wife's business, when she started, I think for the first 3 years, we won't say it was so profitable as such, right? It was just barely breaking even, okay? But she kept at it. One of the things that helps you to keep at it when a business is not profitable is your survival source, your sustenance is coming from, somewhere else. Maybe it could be the business is a side hustle, you have a career. All right. At that time, she was still working. So she had a job, but she was also starting and running a business gradually. What happens sometimes is that people abruptly start a business, and you are expecting that within the next 3 months, that business will start feeding you and sustaining you. All right. You need to give time, like she said. Businesses take time. To convince a customer to leave J-Booms and come and meet your Mall Fitness, it will take time. I will have to blow plenty grammar.
A very long time.
to leave your business and come and, me, I'm already slim. It's natural. The person will look at me, Oga, you can't help me. But you have a story. So it will take time to make a customer leave. That's why you find when businesses start, they do a lot of freebies, all these businesses that raise funds in dollars, billions of dollars, unicorns you find today, the first year, sometimes even longer, they give a lot of freebies. They give no charges for the transfers, no this, no that. They give a lot of freebies to capture customer. During those years or periods of giving freebies, discounts, you need to still survive. All right? So if you don't have something else that's sustaining you, you think the reason the business is not, viable, you start thinking that business is not a profitable business to be in. All right? If all factors are equal, you are excellent, your customer service is good, the industry has prospects for growth, I think what you really need during that phase is to understand that there's a phase where things will not just happen, at the snap of your fingers. You need to give it time. And to give it time, it means that you need to find something else that is sustaining you. Some people start businesses in their father's house. The Facebooks, the Google, many times they had places, a garage somewhere where they were not paying rent. Do you understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Do you understand what that means? Yes. There's no rent that, what Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they were not paying rent or anything. They just had a place where daddy and mommy was feeding them, and they were building their vision. All right? So you need to understand this context when you're starting and running a business.
Thank you very much. We're almost rounding up, but I have a question for my last two same panelists. How can young entrepreneurs identify and capitalize on emerging opportunities? So different opportunities are springing up, how can I key in?
Well, I think the first thing is to be aware of the opportunities that are available, all right? There was a conversation I was having with my wife a couple, I think maybe it's last year, where she mentioned that I think it's Bank of Industry has access to loans for women at single digits. All right. If I do a survey in the room now, how many of the ladies are aware that there's a special loan that is available for women through Bank of Industry at single digit that is less than 10%? All right. I don't know how many ladies are aware of that. You are aware that Bank of Industry has a special. So sometimes you may not even be aware of the opportunities that exist. So my first point would be aware, read the news, do your research. If it's your line of industry, if it's a line of interest, you should be aware of everything going on in that industry, at least every important thing going on in that industry. Okay, that's very important. And how do you then take advantage of it? The question is, your capabilities, your skills, your knowledge, do they align with the opportunities that are emerging? One opportunity emerging today is artificial intelligence, right? It's a big thing. Everybody's talking about it. But the question is, can I take advantage of that opportunity? Do I understand programming? Am I capable of going into that space? If I'm not capable, then maybe I need to develop the capabilities first. Or is it already too late for me to develop the capabilities? Is there another route through which I can get into that space? But I think the most important thing for me that I'll land on here is that be aware of the opportunities that exist in the industries where you play and find a way to align your capabilities to those opportunities.
Just so that I don't repeat what you said, I think it's also very important that you leverage your network, like be a part of a community, because sometimes you can have all the information at your fingertips and still miss very, very important information around the opportunities that exist. So talk to people, have mentors, and thankfully, there is a growth to Renny. You can apply and be a part of it. Leverage your community, learn something new. Learn something new. It's very, very important that you do that, just so that again, I'll give you an example. So there is the tech space. Everybody wants to do tech, but we all can't be developers or engineers. But there are so many other opportunities in that space that we are not even talking about, like a tech operator, like a tech HR person, like a tech fitness expert, right? And you're just catering to people in that industry, right? And so try to explore as well. Be open-minded. If you studied engineering in school and the opportunities are not existing in that space, try something new based on your capabilities, like is mentioned. And I believe that you'll find something for you.
Thank you very much. I'll let Mr. Jex just add something to close off from my own questions.
All right. There was a question about viability of the business. The question the business is viable, it's not profitable. Sometimes if the instrument is bad, the outcome will not be good, it will not be accurate. So how do you define viability, right? How do you know the business is viable? Many times there are instruments to check if a business is good. You have to solve a problem. What's the urgency? People will pay you $1 million to solve COVID issues. If they say, I have COVID And I know somebody who bought houses, and he didn't have much. He just had, basic knowledge about being a pharmacist or something. And during COVID, he did like a mixture. That thing they were saying about, there was a mixture back then. And
Garlic,
no, not garlic honey. I think chlorine plus something. And everybody treated got healed. And they told their friends. And they were paying about 550K for that. So, and they kept referring people. So that was urgent, right? The urgency. You're talking about the size of the market. Nothing can redeem a bad market. You may be very smart, you may have the best team, but a bad market is a bad market. That means you don't have enough people. Then what's the cost of value delivery? What's the cost of customer acquisition? Those are some of the things that you need to ask yourself about that business that you're doing. What's the pricing potential? What's my uniqueness? Those are some of the things I use, I've learned over the time. What's the pricing potential, uniqueness? What is the upfront investment? So what is your vision really about the business? Because that will keep you going. So those are some of the things that you should use to measure that business before you say it's viable or not viable. And to declaring profits, right? Amazon didn't declare profit because they kept plowing back, but they were a profitable business. So if you don't have the opportunity to ball like your friends, that doesn't mean that it's not profitable. You're building something that will last. So these are many more. It's very situational. You don't just say it's viable. What instruments did you use to know that it is viable? Are we telling ourselves the truth? Are we pragmatic enough? Then once the instrument is good, then you can know, okay, there's no way forward here. So
Thank you very much.
You.
Please give my panelists a round of applause. I'm sure you've learned a lot. I've asked my own questions. I'm going to take 2 questions from the audience. Just 2. The first 2, and that's it.
Anyone? Okay, your hand first. Please come.
Anybody from that
Please
side?
come.
After all they've said, you guys, you have 5, and we only have 1 question. Okay, there's a hand over there. He said you wanted something. You wanted to say something? Okay.
Don't worry, if you don't have questions, I will help you with the questions. Sorry, just give me a minute more, okay? If I don't say what I have to say, I feel like I wasn't here. I get these questions a lot. So if I was in the crowd, this is what I want to hear. This is what I want to hear, Dari. Young people in their 20s always ask the same questions. I just haven't heard it, and that's what I have to say. Money, networking. People always think you have to start businesses or not. You don't. If you don't have money to start a business, look for businesses that don't require you to have money to start. I started my engineering business with 0. What did I do? I gathered 10 technicians and promised them profit sharing. I collect 40%, you collect 60%. And that engineering business, we're able to grow it at least to a $500,000 business. Stop thinking money first. Think value. Second thing, networking. I see a lot of people go to conferences and all they want to do is shake hands. Stop. Build yourself. Build value. The fact that you're already in this room is step 1. The reason why she's sitting on that chair is because she has value. She has something to offer. Stop shaking hands. Start building self. Strategic positioning. Like, for instance, men think that the ones that marry women is a lie. It's the women that marry you. A woman can be in sight and not want to be seen. The reason why I'm sitting here is probably strategic positioning. I've always probably wanted to be Mr. Molen's friend or Miss Molen's friend. I had to put myself in a position where they will see me, I will see them, and we'll be friends. Start to be in rooms that matter. What are you hearing? What are you listening to? Stop scrolling through IG just for the sake of it. Start following the people that matter. Start following the people that, for instance, the BOI question that you asked. Why don't people know about the BOI? Are you following Nairametrics? Are you reading what they're putting on? So these questions come into my DM and I get tired of answering them. I just feel it was an opportunity to tell people, add value to sell. Don't try and follow politicians. I say adults following politicians. No, don't. Politicians will look for value. They'll look for people that have value, and they will. Anyway, don't let me say more than that. Thank you.
I think that was such a brilliant addition. And I would like to add to that, because I started my business at 24 with $0. I moved from Canada to Nigeria with probably $200. I'm saying that publicly. And all I had was my expertise and my own intellect. And I decided to put that on paper and sell that. Now, in 2013, the industry that we have right now for health and fitness did not exist. Bumi George decided that, you know what, I think I have the brains to be able to clear this. Nigeria is how I look at Nigeria, it's a land full of opportunities, which is why I'm still here. It's a forest, and you cultivate your own path. There's so much, only if you sit down, think about it, and think that, you know what, you have value. Karika says it all the time, you are the value. I thought that was a value, and I decided, I dared myself. I always double dare myself. Double dare yourself. I double dared myself that, you know what, I'm going to create this industry that doesn't exist. And 10 years later, look at where we are today. So I love what he says. It's all in here. Just bring it out. So the two questions.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moen, for this conference. Okay, my question is probably to Mrs. Ivie. I read somewhere, if you're not earning or learning in an organization, you leave. But I would ask, what do you do in this situation? If you're not earning or learning,
You leave. Okay.
do you just leave?
Okay. So I agree with that statement, because at the end of the day, while we want to give value to organizations, we need to be getting something back from the organization. So if the company you work with is not teaching you and is not paying you, it means that you're wasting your full future potential with a company that is not going to help you. So yes, you do leave, but the question is, leave to where? Are you going to leave to another company that will now pay you more and you would not learn? Or are you going to leave to a company that will teach you, but you would not earn? And I think it depends on the season you are in your life. There was a season in my life where what was important to me was learning. I didn't care about what I was going to earn. But there was also a season in my life where the money was what was important. Learning was no longer important. But one of the things is I've always been self-aware, and I've understood every season of my life. So I'll give an example. When I started consulting, HR consulting, I started it because I'd been doing recruitment for a while, and my clients who are HR managers will be talking about certain HR things that I had no idea what they were talking about. So I thought, you know what, recruitment is just one aspect of HR. I actually want to know the entire spectrum. And so I said, let me work with a consulting firm, because when you work with a consulting firm, they do almost everything. When I was looking for a consulting firm to work with, I did not have any inclination as per pay. I just wanted any consulting firm that would give me the opportunity. I started writing emails, sending applications to organizations, and 2 organizations called me. One was a multinational. They were offering me at that time 180,000 naira. And the second was a small boutique consulting firm, and they were offering me a monthly stipend of 40,000. With the small knowledge I had and with the help of the Holy Spirit, I took the small consulting firm of 40,000. And I remember then my friends thought, you must be mad. You are leaving a multinational job. Do you know what a multinational job is? Do you know how big they are? Do you know how many countries they are in for this job? But I just knew that that was what God wanted me to do. But check this out. When I moved to the smaller consulting firm, they were small in terms of popularity, but the quality of work they were doing was in millions of dollars, and I didn't have that knowledge. And then because we were small, work will reach my hand. It's not like when you're working in a big company that they'll just say, go and photocopy this. There was nothing like that. I started handling consulting jobs from my first day with 0 experience. That knowledge is what helped me to start up my own business, to start consulting for companies. If I chose money, I would not have the knowledge that eventually helped me. But a time came when it was time for me to get my money. So I applied for another job. And at that time, I was earning 250,000, and I told them I wanted to earn 500,000. The interviewer looked at me and said, "Who asks for a 100% increase?" I said, "I took a pay cut to learn so that I can add value to your company. If you're not going to pay me my worth, I'll go somewhere else." Guess what? They paid me 750K. Season of your life. I hope that helps.
Fantastic. Thank you. Second question, and we're done because we are far behind schedule.
Yes, good morning. My question is for Mrs. Evie. For someone in her 30s trying to transition into HR, what should she expect? Should she not go into it, or just stay where she is, or still pursue her dreams or her goals in making impact, like you said? And also, can the person also take a course in Scrum Master and project management, since it has to do with people management?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I would say that I'm extremely passionate about HR, so I would always say, please come on board. That's for sure. But how do you transition, especially when you've not done HR before? Again, I think it's volunteering. Because when you volunteer, you've done two things. You put yourself in a situation where people that would now eventually see your work can actually recommend you for proper full-time jobs. Number two is self-develop. When I started my career in HR, YouTube was my teacher. I studied law. I had never done HR before. So I would go on YouTube and type, "How do you identify a good candidate?" 10 questions to ask during interviews. That's how I was learning. Now, when you do that, what it does is when the opportunity eventually comes, you are prepared for the opportunity. You are not going to now look silly when somebody says, "I want to recommend you for a job." So I would say self-develop yourself and ensure that you put yourself in situations where those opportunities will come. So when I started this HR journey that I wanted to do, I'll be honest with you, I was working as Pastor Tony Rapu's PA. I was church girl. I didn't know anything. I was just doing recruitment to buy hair, buy makeup at the side. But when I wanted to do core HR, the only experience I had was working as his PA. Then I started asking myself that, what is it about my clients that when I send them a CV, from the CV, they'll say, "No, we don't want this one. If we want this one." But I was applying for jobs and I wasn't getting it in HR. That's when it dawned on me. When you send CV that your experience is EA to pastor, you want to do HR, who will employ you? So guess what? I started looking for a company that will give me an admin role and I will volunteer with their HR department. So somebody called me and said, "I'm looking for an EA." I said, "Do you have an HR department?" He said, "No." I said, "Can I start your HR department?" He said, "Of course, what's my own? I'm not paying extra." I said, "No problem." But guess what? My CV had changed. I was no longer EA. I was now HR officer of this company. In 2 years, I got my HR job. So just think about it as, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to put myself in positions for visibility so that when the opportunity comes, I'm already prepared for it.
Amazing. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time, and I hope that you learned and are going to use the knowledge that you have learned. Thank you very much for your time and your expertise.